I'm back in Toronto at our world headquarters, and I keep thinking about the question that I heard when I was in Alberta this week, and it's this. If Alberta were not part of Canada right now, would it agree to join Canada on the current terms? As in, if Alberta were independent, would it give up its independence and join as a province in a country where there are more federal cabinet ministers from the city of Brampton than the entire provinces of Alberta and Saskatchewan combined? Where the key national financial program, equalization, hoovers up billions of dollars from Alberta, from workers there, to give as a gift to less industrious workers in other provinces, and yet where the workers who earn that money, typically in oil and gas, are constantly demonized, not celebrated. Their jobs are threatened. They're told to transition to non-existent green jobs and to pay for those green jobs in Ontario and Quebec through investments of their tax dollars in foreign corporations like those electric vehicle schemes that the private sector obviously doesn't want to invest in, but Trudeau and Carney do. And that's just the money stuff. The disrespect, the constant demonization and ridicule. It really reminds me of a few lines from the U.S. Declaration of Independence. I don't know if you've ever read it. It's a list of complaints about the king. He has erected a multitude of new offices and sent hither swarms of officers to harass our people and eat out their substance. For cutting off our trade with all parts of the world. What's that other than blocking our tankers and pipelines? For imposing taxes on us without our consent. I mean, there's a ton of overlap, isn't there? But I think it's more than just things you can count. More than just tangible things. It's soft things, emotional things, the kind of ties that bind people together into a meaningful nation with common loyalty and common destiny. I think a lot of people in politics, a lot of the institutions in the country, I think they just hate the West. The regime media certainly does. It always made me chuckle when Donald Trump would talk about making Canada a cherished 51st state. I shouldn't laugh. It was talk like that gave Carney the election by spooking boomers in central Canada into the Liberals. But when was the last time any institution of power in this country, media, University of Toronto, Royal Bank, ever spoke about cherishing Alberta? They just don't use that language. They do it for Quebec. They talk about how much they cherish Quebec, but never the West. But not just the West. How about Sir John A. Macdonald? How about any of our traditions or values, our history, our true stories, not the false slander that we're a genocidal country? I mean, I can think of about 15 billion reasons a year why Alberta wouldn't want to join Canada today if it were independent, but I don't know if a lot of other parts would too. Would you? We're losing our freedom of speech. Our Canadian dollar is like the peso. We get poorer and we don't even see it. Our economy is in a recession on a per capita basis. No young people can afford to buy homes in the big cities, so they can't afford to start a family. Our streets are choked with foreign migrants, some of whom turn to crime, and some of whom turn to advocacy for terrorism, celebrating terrorism, all under the approving eye of government and police. Yeah, if Alberta is the first province to leave, I promise you it will not be the last. One of the things we talked about in our Western town halls was mottos for a separatist movement. In 1995, Quebec's official motto for the separatist side was, in French, yes, and it becomes possible. As in, vote yes, and it becomes possible. It being whatever you want it to be. You could tweak that, anything is possible. That could have been Canada's motto, you know, but no one would believe that now. Or how about this for a motto? We can do so much better. Don't you think that's true for Albertans? We can do so much better. And if you're in Ontario or Quebec or Atlantic or BC or the North, don't you think that you could do so much better than the Liberals and our system? Mark Carney, the slippery banker who seems to have a problem telling the truth and gets hostile whenever a journalist asks him a real question, which is pretty rare. We'll talk later in the show today with Franco Terrazzano about the fact that Canada hasn't had a budget in over a year, and we likely won't get one this year either. Oh, I thought Carney was a master of all things dollars and cents. But look at this. Let me show you 4 little vignettes, all from the same day. You tell me whether or not you're from Alberta. Don't you think you could do so much better? Let's start with the Hamas wing of the Liberal Party, Anita Anand, now the foreign minister, who goes full Hamas, just full anti-Semitic here. Take a look.
Israel's blocking food and aid to Gaza. What do you think of that decision? And is the Canadian government doing anything to stop that?
We cannot allow the continued use of food as a political tool. The Prime Minister has been very clear about that. Over 50,000 people have died as a result of the aggression caused against the Palestinian and the Gazan people in Palestine. And using food as a political tool is simply unacceptable. And we need to continue to work towards a ceasefire. We need to ensure that we have a two-state solution, and Canada will continue to maintain that position.
So it's Israel that's the aggressor. So Gaza is now Palestine. So Israel is the one using food as a weapon, not a word about the hostages, not a word about terrorism, not a word about how Hamas takes the food aid and sells it. Or look at this guy. He's ready to work from home 20 hours a week for sure for nearly $400,000 a year. Take a look at this guy.
When you decided not to run again, you said it was because you wanted to spend more time with your family, and you said when you were coming back again that you worked out a deal with Mr. Carney that you'd be able to, have a little bit more work-life balance. How does that jive with your new role?
Well, I expect what you're going to see is when the House of Commons is not sitting, given the nature of the portfolio, a lot of the stakeholders we have are less interested in having you attend groundbreakings, the openings of new buildings that you may have funded, and are quite accustomed to having meetings virtually. So I anticipate during constituency weeks I'm going to be based in my hometown a little more than I was before. There may be an opportunity, depending on what's going on in the House, to avail myself, not all the time of course, but once in a while, of the virtual abilities to participate in the House of Commons proceedings. So we're going to figure some of this out as we go. I'm very proud to have the support of my family to come back. My kids in particular are very excited, even though the little guy's only 3 years old. My daughter at 9 has a better understanding. And it's going to take work on my part.
Yeah, talk about failing upward. He thinks his job as Justice Minister is to do groundbreaking for buildings, opening buildings, cutting ribbons. He's the Attorney General and Justice Minister. He wants to work from home. What a lazy, entitled loser. Don't you think the Liberal Party needs about a decade in the wilderness to get over themselves? Or this guy, he's back at the Heritage Department where he's in charge of censorship and media subsidies, but he thought he'd freestyle a little and announce no new pipelines will be allowed.
Smith says that she's still concerned that you're part of cabinet and also the new selection of Mr. Buzyn for the environment minister. She says it's too close of a tie to you. What do you say in response to that?
I think we will have to agree to disagree with Premier Smith. We think that protecting the environment, fighting climate change is important. Lots of Canadians believe that as well. It was a central element of our platform, and we will make good on our commitments.
The Prime Minister last night on TV seemed to open the door to potentially changing the emissions cap or the IAA to get projects built. What do you think of what he said?
Well, these are important conversations that we will need to have in the coming weeks.
Premier Smith is saying that you're anti-pipeline still. What do you say in response to her concerns just broadly about the cabinet, and how do you deal with national unity? How do you address that right now?
So on pipelines, people should remember that we bought a pipeline, Trans Mountain, and that is only used right now about 40% capacity. So I think before we start talking about building an entire new pipeline, maybe we should maximize the use of existing infrastructure. And the Canadian Energy Regulator, as well as the International Energy Agency, are telling us that probably by 2028, 2029, demand for oil will peak globally, and it will also peak in Canada. So as far as I know, there are no investors right now, there are no companies that are saying that they want to build an east-west pipeline. And as you know, these things are built by companies, not governments.
Are you against the construction of pipelines in Canada? What I'm saying is that we already have an infrastructure in place that's not even at 50% capacity. So before we think about building new infrastructure, we should maximize the use of what already exists. And as I said to your colleague, the Canadian Energy Agency and the International Energy Agency. Yes, but the Prime Minister is saying, well, let's build pipelines, and you're pushing the brake on that. Well, what I'm saying is that the international and Canadian energy agencies are saying that demand for oil will peak by 2028, 2029, and there's no developer who's interested in building an east-west pipeline at this time.
Now, he's lying. The Trans Mountain pipeline is almost full, 80% full. But who cares? It's not a thoughtful debate or decision. It's an ideological one. He hates the West. You know, if you don't buy his 40% full stat, he's got 10 others that he'll make up. He says there's no demand for oil. It's a lie, of course. Japan, Germany, Korea, even Ukraine have all asked us for our energy instead of Russia's. It was Trudeau who said there's no business case for it. He's lying. Guilbeault is right about there being no investors now, though. Would you invest in Canadian pipelines with that kook, convicted criminal, by the way, in charge? Is he in charge? I mean, he's the heritage minister now. Is he still in charge of pipelines? Is Mark Carney in charge? Who's in charge? Last video, this is quite something.
Affordable housing.
Do you think prices need to go down?
No, I think that we need to deliver more supply, make sure the market is stable. It's a huge part of our economy. We need to be delivering more affordable housing. The government of Canada has not been building affordable housing since the 90s, and we've created a huge shortage across Canada. That's where the big need is right now, and I'm very encouraged that the Prime Minister and our commitment right now in government is to double construction and focus on the affordable side.
Did you get that? Is he saying he wants housing prices to come down or not? I mean, it's pretty much a yes or no answer. Are housing prices too high? I think anyone under 40 would probably say they are. What does he say? Watch it one more time and try to understand it.
Affordable housing.
Do you think prices need to go down?
No, I think that we need to deliver more supply, make sure the market is stable. It's a huge part of our economy. We need to be delivering more affordable housing. The government of Canada has not been building affordable housing since the 90s, and we've created a huge shortage across Canada. That's where the big need is right now, and I'm very encouraged that the Prime Minister and our commitment right now in government is to double construction and focus on the affordable side.
What does that even mean? I think he might be even dumber than Trudeau. Matt spoke, asked him a question that I think a bright 8-year-old might ask. How do you make something more affordable without reducing its price? I think there'd be kids in grade school who would ask Gregor Robertson that question. And the answer, here's the answer, you can see for yourself, was to build them at scale. At scale is just a jargony way of saying lots. So build lots of affordable houses, but don't reduce the price? What? But I'm here to say it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter that they don't make sense. It doesn't matter that their facts are wrong. It doesn't matter that they're incoherent. They're going to do what they're going to do anyways, and their plan will fail to fix the problem, but it'll succeed in spending money and making them important and giving big contracts to their friends. I mean, Gregor Robertson presided over the decline and decay of Vancouver, a toxic combination of hard drugs and crime on the one hand and the unaffordable housing on the other. But he's a great success, so much so that Mark Carney put him in cabinet, didn't he? I showed you 4 cabinet ministers, 4 disastrous comments in one day. And Carney himself won't bring in a budget for almost a year. And Parliament hasn't sat in months. Yeah, if you could separate from Canada somehow, would you?